Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says comments from U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer that describes him as an obstacle to peace in the Middle East were totally inappropriate. On Thursday, Schumer criticized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, calling for new elections in a speech on the Senate floor on Israel-Hamas war. Speaking to CNN about Schumer's calls for elections, Netanyahu said whether elections were held or not in Israel was something the Israeli government does on its own. He said the decision to hold elections was ultimately up to the Israeli public. And Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro will run for a second re-election to secure another 6-year term in voting planned for July 28. That's according to the ruling Socialist Party. Maduro, a 61-year-old former union leader, was proclaimed as the Socialist Party's candidate by Vice President Diosdado Cabello and took the stage as a light sports arena to address supporters. Recent polls show 13.9% of Venezuelans plan to vote for Maduro, far behind opposition candidate Maria Corina Machado's 54.5%. But though Machado won an opposition primary in October, it was unclear whether she will appear on the ballot after the country's top court upheld a ban barring her from holding public office. Candidates have until March 25th to register, and it remains unclear whether the opposition will name a replacement for Machado, who is under increasing pressure to pick a substitute.
I know that in your hands the revolution will not be lost. On the contrary, every day we will go for more. The future belongs to the Bolivarian Revolution.
Yo estoy aquí por el pueblo. Por eso que hoy 16 de marzo de este año 2024.
I am here for the people. That is why today, March 16, 2024, I accept the presidential candidacy for the elections of July 28. I accept it, I assume it, and with the support of the people we will reach a new victory of the Bolivarian and Chavista forces.
Censúrennos, censúrenme, prohíbanme, persíganme, pero aquí hay un solo destino, la victoria popular el 28 de julio.
Censor us, censor me, forbid me, persecute me, but here there is only one destiny, the popular victory on July 28, 2024. Whatever they do, whatever they say, they have not been able to stop us, nor will they ever be able to stop us.
Okay, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz says he has spoken with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about the need to provide comprehensive humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza. He says Germany cannot stand by and watch Palestinians risk starvation during a joint news conference with Netanyahu in Jerusalem. He adds that a negotiated two-state solution for the Palestinian people is the key to lasting security for Israel. Netanyahu says earlier on Sunday he will keep on with the military campaign against Hamas in Gaza, where aid agencies say famine is looming. Netanyahu adds in the joint news briefing with the German Chancellor that Israel will not leave civilians trapped in Rafah when its forces begin their assault.
I also spoke to the Prime Minister today about the need to provide the people in Gaza with comprehensive humanitarian aid supplies. We cannot stand by and watch Palestinians risk starvation. That's not us. That is not what we stand for together. Much more humanitarian aid is needed continuously, reliably. I shared my concerns with the Prime Minister that provision of aid from Israel into Gaza and the conditions for distribution must be urgently and massively improved. We need a solution to this conflict that ensures sustainable, lasting security. Sustainable security will not come from higher walls and deeper ditches. It will come from a positive perspective for both people Israelis and Palestinians. A perspective for a future where Palestinians can responsibly take care of their own affairs, govern themselves. The Gaza Strip and the West Bank belong to the administration of the Palestinian Authority. The PA needs to be reformed and strengthened, both in terms of personnel and structure. Self-government and Palestinian statehood can and must be designed to meet Israel's security needs. There is no contradiction here. On the contrary, lasting security for future generations of Israeli people lies in a solution with the Palestinians, not against them. And in the end, this means a negotiated two-state solution. This also includes the normalization of Israel's relations with its neighbors, especially with Saudi Arabia.
All right, earlier we brought you a report of President Vladimir Putin, who's won a record 88% in Russia's presidential election this Sunday. With exit poll and first results, that's what they're showing, and cementing his grip on power, though thousands of opponents stage a symbolic noon protest at polling stations. But the early result means Putin, who came to power in 1999, looks to have easily won a new 6-year term that will enable him to overtake Joseph Stalin and become Russia's longest-serving leader for more than 200 years. History indeed is being made. Yes, we have a RISE analyst in the studio with me, Dr. Sam Amadi, who is an associate professor of law, to dissect this and the implication this will have for Africa. Very warm welcome to Newsnight. Sorry, you got some flats there.
Thank you. Well, I think it's not...
Since 1999?
Not unexpected though, but yes, longest having. I mean, by the time he finishes tenure, he will be long. He will have taken in power more than Stalin.
Yeah.
And again, with 88 or thereabout, 87 something.
88%, yeah. The list was 87.8 or yes, 87 by
so
the pollsters.
That's unbelievable. And then 94% turnout rate. So, but look, the way to look at it, I mean, Western media will see this as shambolic, maybe, but it should be. We have to say that, in spite of all that we say about Russia, the fact that a large country that has about 11 hours time difference from one area to another area, able to do election. Some people are sleeping, some are awake, and they're able to do this election in a seamless way. Even fighting a war. I mean, elections held in Odessa, held in
Crimea.
But
there were lots of protests.
Protests, of course.
Protests against the elections.
It shows that the opposition to Putin over the years has built momentum. It's growing. But I think what he tries to show by this victory, quote unquote, is that he is still very popular, that as part of this war, it's actually popular among Russians. One of the interesting issues at Crimea, that was part of the 2014 annexation and war, votes took place there. And so people are saying that, look, he's trying to show strength, legitimacy, as part of the way the West conceive him. And again, technology, the use of basic technology, seamless voting, even those who are at home voted. So some of the things we can learn. Yes, we can quarrel with the elections of competitive, suppression of freedom, violence, alleged killing of leading opposition in prison before the election. All these go to show that the election is probably not credible. But the mere fact of the process itself, the fact that the administration of that election was credible or in terms of efficiency, is something that we need to take home. Again, I think one of the basic issues here is, in spite of Putin's near dictatorial control, we are still seeing pockets of resistance. So the question is, when will Putin be defeated, whether electorally or otherwise? Or is Putin going to be there until probably he dies in power? Is he able to face off all this opposition from the West, from internally? And again, Russian economy is not doing badly in spite of
despite the war and the sanctions and the rest. And so, you're just surprised that the man seems to know his onions. He knows what leadership is all about.
In some sense.
And his goals, for his people. But what is there for the African continent? We see Russia, making foray into the continent, particularly in West Africa now.
With the three renegades, if you like.
Well, they've been called back, and Niger is just terminated U.S. defense pact.
I think Russia is stepping in, and the attraction for these West Africans is that they are not preaching to us. The West has lost its moral authority. I mean, if you look at the fragility of democracy in America, this electoral cycle, a story about operation of the legal system, judges themselves being disreputed, the electoral system not working, technocrats hijacking decision making that voters should do. So the U.S. have lost tremendous soft power, cultural power to attract. It's no longer there. And so they're going to struggle in the years to come with China and Russia for control of Africa in terms of imagination.
The second,
we're supposed to say second colonization. But essentially, the fight is now about who is going to capture the imagination of young Africans. As what we are seeing from Burkina Faso, from Niger, and even Nigeria, is a sense in which people are kicking against the hypocrisy of the West and seeing the pragmatism, if you like, of China, Russia. They tell you, you need this, okay, take it. We're going to tell you how to manage it.
And Ajakuta is still complex for us. The Russians couldn't complete it.
Well, there's no doubt that the Russia is lagging behind centuries in terms of technology. No doubt about it. I mean, they're not in the high tech, they're not competing with the US. But what they seem to promise, the military, access to military, comfort for dictators. And with the collapse of democracy, gradually we see in West Africa, some democracies in distress because of non-performance, lack of electoral credibility. You're going to see some people warn off from the democratic sentiment and say, you know what works, works. So China is going to be, Russia, China are going to be increasingly competitive. Now with the issue around people want to move away from G20 and G10 and set up the new economic bloc for the South Africa leading. You see the relationship between South Africa and Russia. I mean, Putin gets the BRICS blocks. Although you see what's happening with the militaries in Burkina Faso, they are interested in China, in Russia. So I think in the days to come, Russia might fancy that it could actually wield some influence in West Africa particularly. And Putin, winning this election, winning a new term, as the case might be, is an impetus for Putin also to say, we can continue with this diplomacy, this quest, for the rebuilding of, at least if you don't get USSR, get Russia not totally destroyed or decreased in stature. The idea is there should be a country called Russia that is contending, even if it's not winning, whether it's arm race, economic race, or political race, but at least Russia is on the map. I think for Africa, our own is to be careful how we move with Russia. Yes. The Wagners and their notoriety doesn't augur well for too much.
And one should be afraid rather for the security implications of what Niger has done, stopping the U.S. military, cooperation, where the U.S. military is really helped in
Africa, in Niger.
Yes.
Well, but the argument is that, look, why should Africa actually be, we don't want Africa to be part of either U.S. or Russian military base. But the problem is that we need them without the capacity.
You don't have
to withstand the
ISIS, they've taken off the whole of Sahel. So why wouldn't you need military? Why wouldn't you need military cooperation?
Well, these guys who are coupists are, probably they are bringing back the days of the African revolutionary, quote unquote. But you need
of the likes of Thomas Sankara.
But not just the rhetoric. You need the economic power. You need the strategic thinking to back up those.
Will Russia provide that economic power?
At all. I mean, they should be wise and deal with both sides and not, us, the US.
Yeah. Thank you so very much, Associate Professor of Law, Sam Amadi, for coming to dissect, the fifth, sixth coming of Putin. Vladimir Putin to power.
Thank you.